time, as we commonly understand it, is a construct, a tool we've invented to measure and organize the flow of events. It allows us to schedule meetings, build civilizations, and recount histories. Yet, when we examine it closely, we begin to see that time is not as real as it seems. It is not a tangible thing, not a force that governs reality. Instead, it is a mental framework, a way we attempt to make sense of the world around us. We speak of time as though it were a straight line, a relentless march from the past to the future. But this notion is fundamentally flawed. The past is gone, it exists only as memory, a reconstruction of events colored by our emotions and perceptions. The future, on the other hand, has not yet arrived. It exists only as a projection, an abstract idea in our minds. Neither the past nor the future has any substance. They are phantoms, shadows cast by the mind onto the fabric of the present moment. Consider this: everything you have ever experienced has happened now. The memories of your childhood, the plans for your tomorrow, they all arise in the same place, the present. The past and future borrow their existence from the present. They have no reality of their own. Even when we dwell on memories or anticipate what is to come, we are doing so in the now. The illusion of time is further perpetuated by our language and culture. We divide our lives into years, months, hours, and seconds as though these divisions are real. We say things like, "I don't have enough time," or "time is running out," as if time were a commodity, something that could be gained or lost. But time is not a resource, it is a perception. It is the way we measure change, not the change itself. Our obsession with time creates a sense of urgency, a feeling that we must always be doing, achieving, progressing. Yet this mindset blinds us to the reality of our existence. It chains us to an endless cycle of chasing the future and regretting the past, leaving us disconnected from the one thing that is real, the unfolding of life in this moment. When we step outside this illusion, when we stop trying to capture the past or control the future, we begin to see time for what it is: a game, a useful fiction. It is not a fundamental truth, but a relative concept, a lens through which we view the infinite unfolding of the present. Being vs. becoming. At the core of human existence lies a quiet tension between two states, being and becoming. Being is the state of simply existing, of resting in the completeness of the present moment. It is a recognition that as you are right now, nothing is lacking. Becoming, on the other hand, is the pursuit of what might be, a movement toward an imagined future self, a better state, or an improved condition. While becoming can inspire growth and creativity, it is often rooted in a sense of dissatisfaction with what is. From a young age, we are conditioned to prioritize becoming over being. We are told to strive, to achieve, to climb the ladders of success, as though life's meaning can only be found in the next goal, the next milestone. This creates a sense that life is something that will happen later once we've accomplished enough, improved enough, or become enough. In this mindset, the present moment becomes merely a stepping stone, something to be endured rather than embraced. The problem with this constant striving is that it creates a distance between ourselves and life as it truly is. When we are fixated on becoming, we live in a perpetual state of not yet. We believe happiness, fulfillment, or peace will come when we achieve the next thing, when we get the promotion, find the right relationship, or accumulate enough wealth. But the horizon of becoming is always moving. As soon as we reach one goal, another appears, keeping us forever in pursuit. Being, by contrast, is a state of presence. It is not about abandoning growth or ambition, but about recognizing that the essence of life is already complete in each moment. Being is not static or stagnant, it is dynamic, alive, and full of depth. It allows us to participate fully in life, not as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. It is the awareness that you are not incomplete, that there is nothing missing in this moment, even if it contains challenges, uncertainties, or imperfections. The pursuit of becoming is often driven by the ego, which thrives on comparison and measurement. It tells us that we must always be more successful, more attractive, more accomplished. Yet this narrative blinds us to the beauty of what we already are. It creates a false dichotomy between who we are now and who we think we should be, as though the two are separate entities rather than different facets of the same existence. When we dwell in being, we come to see that the act of becoming is not something to resist, but something to understand. Becoming can be a natural expression of being, an unfolding rather than a striving. It is like a tree growing. The tree does not strain to become taller, it simply grows, because growth is an inherent part of its being. In the same way, we can move toward change and improvement without rejecting or diminishing the fullness of what we already are. The challenge lies in shifting our perspective, in learning to see becoming not as a destination, but as a process that arises naturally from being. It is not about giving up ambition or drive, but about releasing the anxiety and dissatisfaction that often accompany them. When we are rooted in being, we discover that the process of becoming is not a race or a struggle, but a dance, a natural evolution of life expressing itself in its own time. The flow of existence. Existence is not a collection of fixed, separate events, but a continuous, seamless flow, a river that knows no boundaries, no beginning, and no end. It is a process that letting go also involves a level of acceptance that can feel uncomfortable. It means accepting that some things will not go as planned, that mistakes and failures are part of growth, and that loss and change are inevitable aspects of life. Acceptance is not resignation, it is the foundation of resilience. It allows us to respond to life with clarity and calm, rather than reacting with frustration or panic when things do not unfold according to our expectations. In the process of letting go, we come to understand that control is not what brings true freedom. In fact, the need to control can become a prison, chaining us to endless worries and fears about what might go wrong. When we let go of control, we discover a deeper freedom, the freedom to be fully present, to experience life in its richness and complexity without the constant filter of future fears and past regrets. We begin to live in a state of surrender, not as a passive submission, but as an empowered state of flow and trust. Letting go of control is ultimately about aligning with the natural wisdom of life. It is a journey of learning to trust ourselves in the process, recognizing that life is not something to be dominated, but something to be engaged with fully, openly, and lovingly. Control may seem like a path to mastery, but true mastery lies in the grace of allowing, in the power of responding to life's rhythm with an open heart and a flexible spirit. The dance of life. Life is not a straight path to be walked, nor a puzzle to be solved. It is a dance, unfolding moment by moment in rhythms both predictable and spontaneous. Like a dancer moving to music, we are invited not to rush toward an ending, but to immerse ourselves in the beauty of each step, each turn, and each leap. The dance of life is not about arriving at a final destination, but about the joy of movement itself, the sheer act of being alive and in motion. In this dance, there is no rigid choreography. The steps are not mapped out in advance, and the rhythm often changes without warning. We may feel the urge to resist, to impose order and control, to force life into a predetermined pattern. But the magic of the dance lies in our ability to adapt, to respond with grace to the unexpected, and to find harmony even in chaos. The more we resist, The more awkward and disjointed our movements become, the more we surrender, the more fluid and effortless the dance feels. The dance of life is not something we do alone. It is an interplay, a collaboration between ourselves and the world around us. Every interaction, every relationship, every experience is part of the music that guides our steps. Sometimes the rhythm feels slow and gentle like a waltz, other times it's wild and unpredictable like a tempestuous flamenco. The key is to listen closely, to tune into the pulse of life, and to let it guide us rather than trying to impose our own tempo. We often approach life as though it were a competition or a performance, believing that our worth lies in how well we execute each move or in how others perceive us. But the dance of life is not about perfection. It is not about comparing our steps to those of others or striving to achieve some ideal. It is about being fully present in the moment, allowing ourselves to move freely, and embracing the imperfections that make the dance uniquely our own. In the dance of life, there will inevitably be missteps and stumbles. We may lose our balance, fall out of rhythm, or forget the steps altogether. But even these moments are part of the dance. Just as a skilled dancer turns a stumble into a new move, we too can transform our mistakes into opportunities for growth and creativity. The dance is forgiving, endlessly adaptable, and always ready to carry us forward if we are willing to continue moving. This dance is both universal and deeply personal. While the music of life is shared by all, each of us dances in our own unique way, shaped by our experiences, our emotions, and our perspective. No two dances are exactly alike, and that is what makes the dance of life so rich and beautiful. It is a celebration of individuality within the greater symphony of existence. To fully engage in the dance of life requires a sense of trust, a trust in the music, in our own ability to move, and in the unfolding process. It means letting go of the need to know every step in advance and instead allowing ourselves to be guided by the rhythm of the moment. This trust is not blind, it is a recognition that the dance of life is not something we must master, but something we are already a part of, something that flows naturally when we stop resisting. The dance of life is a reminder that life itself is an art, not a science. It is not meant to be dissected, quantified, or reduced to a series of goals. It is meant to be felt, expressed, and experienced in all its fullness. Whether the music is loud or soft, fast or slow, joyful or melancholic, the dance invites us to move with it, to embrace it, and to allow ourselves to be carried by its rhythm. Every moment, every breath is a step in this dance. The patterns may seem elusive, the movements unpredictable, but that is what makes it a dance rather than a march. It is a dynamic interplay of movement and stillness, of effort and ease, of intention and spontaneity. The dance of life does not demand that we lead or follow, it simply invites us to join in, to participate fully, and to find our place within its ever-changing rhythm. The ego as a mirage. The ego, that persistent sense of unity with the whole, does not mean losing oneself or dissolving into anonymity. It means expanding one's sense of self to include all that is. It is the realization that the boundary between self and other is porous, that what we do to the world, we do to ourselves. This understanding fosters a deep sense of compassion, for when we see others as part of ourselves, we naturally wish for their well-being. Acts of kindness and care are no longer obligations, but natural expressions of our shared existence. This unity is not static, it is dynamic, ever-changing, and alive. It is the flow of rivers, the growth of forests, the cycle of birth and death. It is the harmony of opposites, the interplay of light and shadow, creation and destruction, expansion and contraction. To be in unity with the whole is to embrace this flow, to recognize that life is not a fixed state but a process, an unfolding that we are both part of and witness to. Our disconnection from this unity often stems from the illusion of control, the belief that we can stand apart from life and manipulate it to our advantage. Yet, when we try to dominate or exploit the world around us, we inevitably harm ourselves, for we are not separate from what we seek to control. To act in harmony with the whole is to act with wisdom, understanding that the well-being of the individual is inseparable from the well-being of the greater whole. In moments of stillness, when the chatter of the mind quiets, this unity reveals itself. It can be felt in the rhythmic sound of waves crashing on the shore, in the silence of a forest, or in the gaze of a loved one. These moments remind us of what we have always known, but often forget that we are not isolated fragments, but integral parts of an infinite, interconnected reality. They remind us that the essence of life is not separation but unity, not competition but cooperation, not division but wholeness. Unity with the whole is not something distant or abstract, it is immediate and intimate. It is the breath filling your lungs, the ground beneath your feet, the beating of your heart. It is the simple recognition that the same life force animates all things, that the boundaries we perceive are like waves drawn in the sand, easily washed away by the tide of awareness. When we tune into this unity, we find a deep sense of belonging, a peace that transcends circumstances, and a clarity that cuts through the illusions of the mind. The art of attention. Attention is the lens through which we experience life, the delicate thread connecting us to the present moment. Yet in the modern world, our attention is often fragmented, pulled in countless directions by distractions, demands, and desires. We live in a state of constant partial awareness, skimming the surface of experience without truly diving in. To cultivate the art of attention is to reclaim this essential connection, to immerse ourselves fully in the richness of now. Attention is not simply about focusing, it is about presence. It is the act of bringing our whole being into the moment, free from the distortions of judgment, expectation, or comparison. When we pay attention, we cease to look at the world through the narrow filters of usefulness or efficiency, and instead see it as it is alive, intricate, and endlessly fascinating. A flower is no longer just a decoration, it becomes a masterpiece of design, its colors and patterns revealing the quiet intelligence of nature. In a culture obsessed with multitasking and productivity, the art of attention becomes a radical practice. It invites us to slow down, to focus not on doing but on being. It asks us to give ourselves fully to whatever is before us, whether it is the taste of a meal, the sound of rain, or the rhythm of our own breath. This depth of presence transforms the mundane into the extraordinary, revealing beauty and meaning in places we often overlook. The art of attention also requires a sense of openness, a willingness to engage with the world without preconceived notions or resistance. Often our minds are so busy analyzing, labeling, and categorizing that we fail to truly experience what is in front of us. We hear a bird sing, but instead of listening, we think, "That's a robin," and move on. To practice attention is to drop these mental shortcuts and meet life with a fresh, unfiltered awareness, as if seeing everything for the first time. Attention is not passive, it is an active and creative engagement with the world. It is the foundation of all art, learning, and relationships. When we pay attention to another person, we offer them a gift far greater than words or gestures. We offer the acknowledgement of their existence, their presence. In the same way, when we pay attention to a task, no matter how simple, we infuse it with care and meaning. The act of attention transforms not only what we observe, but also the observer, deepening our connection to life and to ourselves. In practicing the art of attention, we inevitably encounter the restless nature of the mind. Thoughts arise, pulling us away from the moment, and our attention drifts to past regrets or future worries. This is not a failure, but an opportunity, a reminder that attention is not about perfection, but about returning. Each time we notice the mind wandering and gently bring it back, we strengthen our ability to stay present. This process is like training a muscle, building the capacity to remain rooted in the here and now. The art of attention also teaches us about impermanence. When we truly pay attention, to embrace uncertainty is to recognize the impermanence of all things. It is to understand that life is a constant process of change, a dance of beginnings and endings, appearances and disappearances. Clinging to certainty is like trying to hold water in our hands. It slips away no matter how tightly we grasp. By accepting uncertainty, we align ourselves with the flow of life, learning to move with its currents rather than against them. In the end, uncertainty is not something separate from us. It is woven into the very fabric of our being. We, too, are dynamic, ever-changing, and unknown even to ourselves. To embrace uncertainty is to embrace this truth, to let go of the need to define and confine ourselves, and to step into the vast, open field of possibility that lies beyond the boundaries of certainty. The sacredness of the ordinary. In a world that often looks for the extraordinary, the spectacular, and the miraculous, we overlook the quiet, unassuming moments that fill our everyday lives. Yet there is a profound sacredness in the ordinary, a deep, unseen beauty that pulses through each seemingly mundane act. We tend to elevate the extraordinary as if it holds more meaning, more significance, but in truth, the extraordinary is born from the ordinary. It is the ordinary that sustains us, that connects us to life itself, and that offers a reflection of the sacred in every breath, every movement, every moment. The sacredness of the ordinary is not found in the grand gestures or in faraway places, but in the simple things: washing dishes, walking down the street, sharing a quiet moment with a loved one. These are the acts that form the backbone of our existence, yet we often pass over them, too busy or distracted to recognize their importance. We mistake the sacred for something rare, something distant, when in reality it is woven into the very fabric of our daily lives. When we slow down and truly look at the ordinary, we see that it is not ordinary at all. Every action, no matter how small, contains an infinite depth. The movement of our hands as we prepare a meal, the sound of our feet on the earth as we walk, the way light filters through the trees, these are not just functional, mundane activities. They are the manifestations of life itself, unfolding in real time. In each of these moments, we are invited to touch the sacred. The sacredness of the ordinary is a matter of perception. It is not that the world itself changes, but that we change our relationship to it. When we approach life with reverence, when we bring our full attention to whatever task is before us, we begin to see the sacredness in it. This is not about imbuing the world with some external holiness. It is about recognizing the inherent value, beauty, and wonder that already exists in the most common things. It is easy to become caught up in the desire for more, to chase after excitement, success, or recognition. But these pursuits often lead us away from the present moment, away from the simple joys of being alive. The sacredness of the ordinary reminds us that we do not need to seek fulfillment outside of ourselves, for it is right here, right now, in the everyday experiences that we often take for granted. By fully embracing the present, we begin to see that every moment is filled with meaning, even the ones that seem insignificant. In the ordinary, we find the depth of life's mysteries. The act of breathing, the rhythm of the heart, the cycles of nature, these are not trivial, they are miracles in themselves. The ordinary is where the divine makes itself known, not as a distant force, but as the pulse of life that runs through all things. It is in the ordinary that we find the space for stillness, for connection, and for wonder. The sacredness of the ordinary is also tied to our relationships. In the simple exchange of a glance, a touch, a word, we experience the profound interconnectedness of all things. We are not isolated beings, but part of a larger web of life, and each interaction, no matter how small, is a reflection of this unity. When we honor the ordinary moments with others, when we listen fully and give our attention, we recognize the sacredness in them, as well as in ourselves. The ordinary can also serve as a teacher, showing us the way to deeper wisdom. By paying attention to the small details of life, we cultivate mindfulness and awareness. We learn to be present, to accept what is, and to find peace in the flow of everyday existence. The sacredness of the ordinary teaches us that we do not need to search for happiness in distant places or future outcomes. It is available to us now, in the here and now, in the simplicity of being. To honor the sacredness of the ordinary is to recognize the fleeting nature of life. Each moment is a gift, a brief expression of life's vastness. The more we become aware of this, the more precious and meaningful the ordinary becomes. We begin to see that nothing is too small to be significant, and no moment is too trivial to be sacred. This awareness allows us to fully embrace each experience, to be fully alive to the present. In the sacredness of the ordinary, we find a mirror of the infinite.